Hey folks, welcome back. This is Chris with the Naba Africa. Well, it's the 10th of October, 2020. A mere 24 days before the 2020 election here in the United States. And tonight, for the first time in a long time, I watched Jesse Watters' World on Fox News. I haven't seen that in a long time. Jesse's come a long way, and I'll talk more about that afterwards. But in this section, he starts off with Watters' Words, apparently a news segment of his show, or at least one I hadn't seen before because I hadn't watched it in a long time, talking about the differences between the Biden and Trump campaign, but pretty much summing up the Biden campaign in two key statements. He says basically the Biden campaign comes down to claiming that 200,000 people are dead as proof that Trump failed and that the economy is bad. But the thing is that, as Jesse Watters points out, it was Joe Biden himself who opposed Donald Trump's travel bans to China and later to Europe, mainland Europe, and then the British Isles and Ireland. Yeah, he called Trump xenophobic and said he was premature and panicked when he reacted. But the thing is that Biden's actions would have closed the economy, and he still calls us for closing the economy. So basically, Biden would have killed more people and more jobs. Now, the thing about this is, honestly, and Jesse Watters will talk about this in the video clip I'm about to show you in a moment, but how can anyone credibly attack Trump for a bad economy when that person's solution would have made things even worse? As Jesse Watters will tell you, had Biden had his way, he would have killed more people and would have killed more jobs. So if Biden wants to complain about Trump killing people or being responsible for the death of people and killing jobs, okay, then what's your plan? His plan would have been to lock down the economy even worse, and we'd still be under lockdown. The economy would totally collapse by now had Joe Biden had his way. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't complain about Trump losing jobs and causing the deaths of people, both of which are fiction, and then have a plan that would have made it even worse. That's ludicrous. You have to have a better plan, or you can't complain. He goes on, and his plan essentially is pretty much everything that Trump has done. So Biden is for doing what Trump has already done. Jesse Watters goes on to point out that during the Obama-Biden administration, 200,000 people at least died from opioids in this country, and the administration did nothing about that at all, which is true. And of course, during the Trump administration, his brother died from alcoholism, as a disease related to his alcoholism, and he is very much against addiction. And so he has made a strong effort to deal with the opioid crisis as president for the first 4 years in his term. And in addition to this, Jesse Watters points out that 300,000 military veterans died waiting for Veterans Administration health care during the Obama-Biden watch. So Biden has the audacity to complain about 200,000 deaths, many of which we know are not COVID-related, simply flawed and inflated figures to garner more revenue from the federal and state governments. But he goes on endlessly about that, forgetting two key points that the CDC itself and Dr. Fauci and others said that had Trump not taken such prompt action in January, as many as 2.2 million people would have died by this point. And even with the inflated figures, the number is slightly over 200,000. Yet over 300,000 people who are combat and service veterans from the U.S. military died during the Obama-Biden watch because of their feckless management of the Veterans Administration. 300,000 military veterans waiting for care, dying. It's pathetic. Pathetic. Also mentions that Biden, his solution to all of this was to back the mob. As our cities looted and burned, he supported them, that it was perfectly fine while people were out shoulder to shoulder with no mask, holding hands, hugging, throwing Molotov cocktails. That was perfectly fine. Clearly, it had no impact on the virus. Biden has no credibility whatsoever on virtually any issue at all. During Trump's first 3 years, family income grew by an average of $8,000 for middle-class families. $8,000. Families have not seen that kind of jump in income in decades. And the poverty rate dropped. Folks, in the middle of a whole series of hit after hit after hit, single, double, triple, and home run by Donald Trump, the lying, colluding press continues to deceive people with fictitious polls, oversampling one group over another to come up with skewed results. That's fine. Delude yourselves. You're not convincing true people that are going to vote to change their vote based on panicking. Well, we might as well not vote, or we might as well vote for the other guy because he's winning. It isn't working. It didn't work last time, and you were shocked when you lost. If you're buying into your polls this time, it won't work this time. Donald Trump contracted COVID-19, and the left mocked him and laughed about it and celebrated the fact that he contracted COVID-19. But what do we learn from that? Number one, the implicit faith that the left has in science, which they seem to have little understanding of, certainly no understanding of epidemiology and infectious disease. Their implicit understanding of science is baseless. They told us endlessly. The problem is we don't have enough tests. Testing is the answer. We simply test people and we will stop the virus. Of course, it's ludicrous on its face, but people still fell for it. Well, every single person that comes within 50 feet of the President of the United States gets tested for the virus. And only people who are negative can come and approach him. So how did he magically get the virus? Because the reality is the tests come back as a false negative when someone's actually positive, particularly in the early stages of a virus when people are shedding viral load. There you go. So your clueless adherence to science you don't understand is ludicrous. And this is something, of course, that Biden would favor. Yes. The other thing we learned from Donald Trump getting COVID-19 is that masks don't prevent it. Yeah. Do they prevent it? Well, how is it that several people who were present at the ceremony where people claimed that the virus was spread when Amy Coney Barrett was brought out to announce her nomination, the media, on the basis of no scientific information, no confirmation, no evidence whatsoever, claims that that ceremony at the White House is how this virus spread. The problem with that story is that several people who contracted the virus and now tested positive for it were wearing masks throughout. The virus didn't protect them. Didn't protect them at all. Or maybe it didn't come from that event. In either case, they're simply wrong. And finally, and the most important part of Donald Trump and this virus is that Donald Trump, a 74-year-old man, a bit portly, managed to contract the virus, take experimental drugs, which we've heard endless whining from elites in Africa. Ooh, they're going to test it on Africans. Oh, he's doing this to Africa. No. The virus, the vaccine, any treatments for it were being experimented on Americans right here in America, and mostly white Americans for that, you leftist slime balls that want to spew that racial nonsense all the time, and you social justice woke warriors for the left who spew your nonsense. No one's testing this in Africa. It's tested in America on Americans. We're the guinea pigs. Stop your whining. Speaking of guinea pigs, Donald Trump was a guinea pig for an experimental drug that was used to defeat COVID-19. What happens? 74-year-old, slightly portly, President Donald Trump comes out of care with flying colors, punching harder than ever, kicking COVID's bum, kicking this virus to the curb. And what do we learn from this? We learn that Donald Trump is a great leader who steps up and says, don't be afraid of this virus. Don't let it control your life. I've defeated it. And that sign of confidence tells a lot. On top of that, the economy is surging. Jobs have come back that should never have been lost. The country's doing well. It's improving on a daily basis. You'd never know that. You never know that. Donald Trump signs executive orders and legislation helping Native Americans, Indigenous Americans. Not even in the news. Not even in the news. Virtually nothing the president does is positives in there. Any mention of sickle cell anemia, executive order, not a single thing. Much attention paid to $500 million given historically black colleges and universities, not a single thing. The list of Donald Trump's achievements is endless. The list of Donald Trump's achievements that appear in the mainstream media is virtually non-existent. One could easily be forgiven for being hoodwinked by what's happened. But folks, Jesse Watters, in what you're about to watch, lays it out crystal clear. Here you go, folks. This is Jesse Watters on Watters World today, the 10th of October, 2020, knocking it out of the park with a home run.
Welcome to Watters World. I'm Jesse Watters. Debating a Democrat, that's the subject of tonight's Watters Words. It's easy. Just stick to some key points and turn every topic to your advantage. If I were a Democrat, I'd hammer Trump on the virus too. That's politics. Biden just throws out 200,000 dead as proof Trump failed and says the economy's bad. That's his campaign in a nutshell. But Biden was against both travel bans and wanted to keep the country locked down longer. So Biden would have killed more people and jobs. Case closed. Biden doesn't even have a plan to confront the virus. I asked Juan to define it the other day on the 5, and he couldn't.
You guys say, oh, but he did so well because he got in this nasty little dig about, oh, plagiarism because the Biden plan is the same as the president's plan. Well, it's not.
What's different?
It's not. Biden wants a national plan. Again, I don't know what you've been paying attention.
What does that mean?
He wants to have a national plan.
What does that mean, Juan?
Trump wants to leave it up to the states.
What's national plan mean?
Let me finish. Okay?
But what does it mean?
No, I said,
let me say national plan.
He wants a national plan.
Everything Biden says he'd do, Trump already did it. Now, if he drops the death toll on you, we can play that nasty game all day. The CDC says over 200,000 Americans OD'd on opioids under Obama Biden. Dead. They didn't lift a finger to fight fentanyl flying in from China. The IG says 300,000 veterans died under Obama Biden, waiting in lines at VA hospitals. The Obama-Biden VA doled out bonuses to managers who kept sick vets on secret wait lines. That's ugly stuff. And when Biden says Trump downplayed the virus, throw Fauci in his face. Democrats love Fauci. Fauci told Americans the virus was low risk to go about their lives. Same exact thing Trump said. Fauci and Trump on the same page. They didn't want to panic the people. And when Biden says Trump blew it on the virus, throw Fauci right back in his face again. Fauci said the Trump team took early action and did an excellent job. You can't argue with Fauci, right? Biden's always barking about Trump crowds and no social distancing. But when Democrats flooded the streets arm in arm all summer rioting over police, Biden didn't care. Biden backed the mob. Biden's moaning about Trump not wearing a mask, but Biden just wears his as a prop. Look at him here, talking to people close up. No mask. When Democrats think the cameras are off, no mask. Here's Governor Cuomo, no mask. Here's Dianne Feinstein, no mask. Here's Pelosi in the beauty salon. Here's CNN reporter Caitlin Collins, who's always mask shaming people. Watch her rip the mask off when she thinks the cameras are off. Every time Democrats blame Trump for the virus, they're giving the Chinese communists a free pass. Biden wanted to keep the economy locked down longer. Schools and sports locked down longer. Biden would have killed this country. Biden's for lockdowns, not opening up. And for the economy, this is easy. In just 3 years under Trump-Pence, families got about an $8,000 raise. Not even close to under Obama-Biden. It's a middle-class boom for everybody, whites, blacks, and Hispanics. And the poverty rate went down, and inequality shrunk. Those are the straight facts. And today's recovery is the fastest on record. We already got half the jobs back we lost in just 6 months. Obama-Biden had the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. And the American economy shrank the least and came back quicker and stronger than the rest of the world's. Biden will kill the recovery with lockdowns, tax hikes, and regulations, no doubt about it. And you can't trust a word Biden says on health care.
If you like your health care plan, not your employer-based plan, you can keep it. If in fact you have private insurance, you can keep it.
He lied about it. Obamacare was a disaster. Bernie Sanders would be in charge of health care in the Senate if the Democrats win. Bernie thinks Castro did a great job. He'll turn this country into Cuba. If you like long lines and death panels, vote for Joe. Second Amendment, Biden's putting Beto in charge.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Have fun with that, and he's going to go door to door to do it. Biden defunded the police while VP, cutting funding for the cops program. Trump increased it. The Biden campaign bailed out rioters who set fire to America and tore down statues of our founding fathers. Biden sold America out to China. We lost money, but his son Hunter, he got paid off. Now, if they ask about a peaceful transition of power, say, yeah, in 2024, we expect to win. And don't lecture Trump about a peaceful transfer. Biden spied on his campaign, framed Flynn during the transition, and tried to impeach him in an election year. Don't give Biden an inch when he plays the race card either. Joe Biden spoke at Robert Byrd's funeral, a Kleagle of the Ku Klux Klan.
My colleagues behind me revere the Senate. Robert C. Byrd elevated the Senate.
Climate change. The Green New Deal costs families an extra $70,000 a year. Do you have an extra 70 grand laying around for global warming? I don't. Biden let ISIS run wild. Trump slaughtered them. Biden started wars. Trump didn't. He signed peace deals and brought our boys home. Make it about management. What problems have Democrats solved? What have they done well? They can't control crime or homelessness in their own cities. They can't control the border. They couldn't win the war on terror. They can't manage the forests or the nursing homes. They couldn't even launch a website. They can't even keep the lights on in California. This is a layup for re-election. Take note and go for their throats. For more now on the state of the 2020 race, I'd like to bring in former Speaker of the House and author.
Well, there you go. Just a few comments about this more to add to what's happened here. First off, as Jesse tells the world, the Democrats and the New Green Deal, they can't pull that off. Race, no. Crime, no. Homelessness, no. Even organizing the Democratic caucus in Iowa was something beyond the capacity of the Democrats to pull off. As Jesse says, this situation is a simple layup in the 2020 election for Donald Trump. If only the media weren't in collusion. If only the media weren't in collusion or honest instead of being dishonest on not a daily, not an hourly, but a moment-by-moment basis, one lie after another. Did you see the fictional news coverage saying that Kamala Harris won the vice presidential debate? That's absolutely insane. She told nothing that was factual. She made up stories about President Lincoln, fraudulent historical claims. She lied about her prosecution record in San Francisco and California. Blatant lies, easily disproven. Yet she did it. Her smirk, her smug, her condescending behavior. Trump didn't have a particularly good performance in his presidential debate, and Biden's was atrocious. In that debate, I gave Trump a B- and I gave Biden a C+. In the vice presidential debate, I gave Vice President Pence a B+ because of his shaky start. It took him about 28 minutes to start hitting on all cylinders, and also he ran over time a bit often. And I gave Senator Harris an F. Well, she gets an A if she was playing the role of Pinocchio, but she doesn't get an A for her performance in debate. Well, folks, I have to say this about Jesse Waters. When I first started watching him appear on Bill O'Reilly's The O'Reilly Factor several years ago, when I was a more avid watcher of Fox News, back at a time when it actually was a fair and balanced network, not an in-the-tank for the leftist network with a couple of legitimate newscasters, a couple of legitimate journalists, and one or two decent commentators who are honest about their political opinion. Before it became that, what it currently is, I used to watch O'Reilly's program. And on O'Reilly's program, Jesse Waters was this young reporter, and he just walked out and did Waters' World. I thought it was a bit kitschish, reminded me much of some of the things you saw on late night television. I wasn't particularly impressed, but I must say this. Since gaining his own program on Fox, he's matured as a journalist, as a commentator, as an analyst, and his news reporting is insightful. It's deep, it's penetrating, it's genuine. It may be biased because he sits on one side of the political aisle, but he's honest about his bias, and he strikes with facts, not hyperbole. That's right, folks. Well, this was an outstanding, out-of-the-park commentary by Jesse Waters. And I say commentary. That's right. It's his opinion. But his opinion is supported by facts, folks. I hope you enjoyed Jesse Waters, and I hope you appreciate and enjoy my commentary about the things Jesse Waters had to say with regard to Joe Biden and the 2020 presidential election, and President Trump for that matter. So if you're not a subscriber, Chris Wyatt Africa, take a moment and how about becoming a subscriber by smashing that subscription button right down there. Be sure that you toggle that bell icon. If you do, YouTube is supposed to update you of my live streams and my prepared videos, upcoming ones. They're not always good about that. Also, they unsubscribe people maliciously for no basis. People just find out that they're no longer subscribed to a channel. So if you find this channel interesting, you find the content compelling, anytime you check back, just glance down, take a gander, and make sure you're still subscribed. Make sure it doesn't have that red button go, ooh, subscribe. Because if you're unsubscribed, I didn't do it, YouTube did it. Anyway, folks, if you got a comment, feel free to leave the comment. I welcome all comments. If they're malicious, you might wind up in a video about malicious comments. If they contribute to the discourse, thank you for that. Whether you agree or disagree with what I said or what Jesse Waters said really isn't germane. Your opinion matters, and we read it as best we can, as often as we can. And finally, I ask that you smash the like button because likes drive viewership. I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time, just over 3 weeks until the 2020 election. Decision 2020, right around the corner, folks. I'll be live streaming the election that night. It'll be a long night for me, but that will be coming up shortly, so looking forward to that. Okay, folks, have a good night.